everybody, this is lesson number 5 in module 2, understanding subtraction of integers and other rational numbers. So what we're actually going to do today is figure out how to rewrite subtraction problems to be addition problems. The cool thing about subtraction problems is that we can rewrite them to be addition problems and therefore know exactly how to solve them because we know how to solve addition problems. So in order to understand why or how we can rewrite subtraction problems, we're going to simulate a little activity here using our integer game cards that we've been using. And by filling out this chart, we're going to see patterns. We're going to look for patterns as to what happens when we pick up, discard a positive or a negative. So instead of everyone by chance randomly selecting cards, I kind of came up with the ones I want you to use so that way we can see how our score changes. So in order to get started here, go ahead and write on the left-hand side what I have: 5, 3, -4, and 0. Just pretend like those are the cards that you started with when you picked 4 cards randomly. Okay, what is the score of these cards? If you are on the number line, you know this means to go to the right 5, from there go to the right 3 more, and then from there go to the left 4, and then this one you don't do anything. So where do you end up? And if you're good at combining them, you know that 5 and 3 is +8, and that would be a -4. So our total is actually 4. That's basically our score when we start. Okay, now for action 1, I'm coming up with these. I'm going to tell you what I want you to do. So for action 1, I want you to add here a card that is a -12. And in this part, we're going to write select a -12. So all we did was we just pretended like, okay, we're playing the game and we picked up a -12. Well, now what I want you to do is think about how what your score would be with these 5 cards. What would your score be? You can pause it and figure it out. Okay, your score, if you had those 5 cards in your hand, your score would be -8. So the description says, how did your score change? Did our score go up or down? And when I say up or down, I mean from what we started with to what we have now, from 4 to -8. Okay, the score definitely went down because it was positive and now it's negative. Score went down. And then on a number line, how far did it go? From +4 to -8? Well, there's a hint there with the card. It went down 12. The score went down 12. That could be decreased by is another way to say that. It decreased by 12. Okay, now we have to figure out which one to discard. I'm just going to tell you which one I want you to discard, mostly for time's sake. So I want everyone to kind of lightly cross off the -4, and here write discard 4. Oh, sorry, discard -4. Be very, very careful to write discard -4. So we got rid of the -4. Now what is our score? Now what is our score? Pause it if you need to. So now you're looking at everything except the -4. So you're going to get the score of 5, 3, 0, and -12. Okay, your score now is -4. Your score is -4 when you combine those 4 cards and get an answer. Okay, what happened to our score? From the -8 to the -4. A lot of kids make a mistake here. Look at the number line or look at a number line. What happened from -8 to -4? Did my score go up or down? This is almost a trick question. A lot of kids want to say that the score went down, but it actually went up because it went further to the right. Okay? I like to think of money too, like owing $4 is actually better than owing $8. So my score actually went up. It got closer to 0. It went further to the right. So our score went up 4. Okay, hopefully that made sense. We started with 4 cards, we discarded one, or we picked one up and then we discarded one. So we started out with 4, we went to -8, then when we discarded, we had a score of -4. Okay, next round, we're going to pick up another card. And like I said, I'm just going to make it up. So this time I want us to pick up a, where is it? I have it written down. Sorry, guys. Okay, we were there. We're going to select an 8. We're going to select a +8. Okay, so our total was -4. This is kind of a continuing on. It was -4. We selected an 8, so write select 8. Now figure out what the score is. Pause it if you want to. Figure out what the score is. And if you already did that, then your score is now positive 4. So the score went, did it get bigger? Did it get smaller? Did it go up or down? Well, from negative 4 to positive 4, it did go up. It's not 0, though. Be careful on the number line. Score went up. If you don't have your orange number line out, you should take that out now. Score went up 8. It went up 8. Okay, now we need to figure out which one to discard. We're going to discard, and this is just me choosing, we're going to discard the 5. So this time we're going to get rid of the 5. Okay, so now you have 8. I'll show you with the mouse. You have 8, 3, 0, and negative 12. If you're quick, or if you want to pause it, go ahead and figure out what your score would be. So after we discard the 5, we have 4 cards left, and those cards equal negative 1. Please rewind this if this is going too fast, and you need to listen carefully again as to where we got that. So when I add up 8, 3, 0, and negative 12, my score is actually negative 1. Negative 1. Okay, so what happened? Did our score go up or down? We discarded a 5. Did our score go up or down? It definitely went down because it went from 4 to negative 1. How far on the number line? 5 units. The score went down 5 units. Okay, we only have 2 more rows to go. We're actually going to cross out row 5. All right, so carry that negative 1 down to round 3. So we're starting with a negative 1. And this time we're going to select a negative 2. Select negative 2. So let's pretend like we picked up a negative 2. Okay, so what is the result now? So 8, 3, 0, negative 12, and negative 2. What would our score be? It would be negative 3. Negative 3. Pause it and try it again if you need to. We've got negative 12 and negative 2. That would be negative 14. And then positive 3 and positive 8 would be positive 11. So if you had negative 14 and positive 11, that's where we get negative 3. Or on the number line, carefully move to the right and to the left. Okay, so what happened to our score? Did we go left or right, and how many? Did we go up or down, and how many? Our score went down. Be careful on that. From negative 1 to negative 3, the score went down. It's getting further from 0. It's going to the left. It went down 2. Okay, now I'm going to tell you we're going to discard the... Oh, this one's going to be weird. We're going to discard the 0. Huh. Well, what will happen to our score? Nothing will happen to our score. We got rid of nothing. So it didn't change at all. So discard the 0, and we still have a negative 3. So score stayed the same. That was an easy one. Okay, and then that negative 3 is what starts us on round 4. And for our last selection, I'm going to have you select a positive 1, a positive 1. So let's write in there, select 1. Okay, now figure out those cards that we haven't discarded yet. We have 8, 3, 1. Those are all positive if you want to kind of go with a pattern there. 8, 3, and 1, that makes 11, 12. And then we have negative 12. There's a hint for you. The answer here is negative 2. Negative 2. Oh, I didn't mean to change colors. Sorry. Okay, negative 2. So our score went... Which direction on the number line? Up or down? It went up. It went up, guys. It's going to the right. So score went up 1. Okay, for our very last trick, hopefully you can almost guess which one we should get rid of to make our score closest to 0. We are going to discard the negative 2 from the last round. So we're going to discard negative 2. And now our score is... Yay, it's going to be 0 because 8, 3, and 1. 8 plus 3 is 11. 11 plus 1 is 12. And then we have a negative 12. So there we go. We ended up with 0, which is the best score you can have in the integer game. And our score went what? Did it go up or down? Well, it was at negative 2, and now it's at 0. So it went up 2. Okay, the column that we're going to pay attention to is here and here. We're going to talk about what happens when we select or discard. So the next pages will go a lot faster than this. I know that that was a lot for the first page, but you need to know what happens to scores when we select and discard in order for it to help us with our integer rules. Okay, so if we selected a positive, so now look at the ones where we select a positive. Select 8 and select 1. Our score went up or down? Look, it went up. It went up. So you're going to have to be looking at page 34 as we fill this out. So our score for the first question, did selecting a positive value change? How did it change? Our score went up. What if we selected a negative? So when we selected the -2 and the -12, what happened to our score? Our score went down. So far, so good. Now we want to look at what happens when we discarded. So it says first, the first question there says, how did discarding positive values? So look at the parts where we discarded a positive. And it looks like we did that in round 2. We discarded a 5, and what happened to our score? When we discarded a 5, let's write that out. When we discarded a 5, our score went down. And that kind of makes sense. Like we got rid of a positive 5, so our score went down. This next one, this next problem is the one that's going to show us how we can subtract integers. How did discarding negative values change the value of your hand? So now look at rounds 1 and 4. When we discarded the -4 and -2, our score went, what happened when we got rid of -4? Our score went up. Our score actually went up when we discarded a negative. And if you look at round 4, when we discarded a -2, our score went up. So that's extremely important. That right there, that is the most important one in this lesson. When we discarded the negative, our score actually went up. Okay, we're going to practice those in just a minute. What operation reflects selecting a card? So if I select a card, that would be addition. If I'm selecting, I'm adding. If I'm removing, we're going to call that subtraction. Okay, so based on the game, can you predict what will happen when I subtract a positive integer? When I subtract a positive integer, the amount or value goes down. And what about when I subtract a negative, which means up here, when we discarded a negative, when we discard a negative or we take away a negative, the amount actually goes up. The amount value goes up. Okay, keep these in mind. These are just to show you why that happens, and then we're going to practice some examples of how it works. Okay, so flip to page 36. If I have a +4 and a +2, I know you guys already get this, so we're going to go through this super fast since it's just reviewing what we already did. So we have 4 plus 2, and that's 6. Now we're going to show what happens when we discard a positive, So if I have, +4 to the right, and then I have 2 more to the left, well, if I get rid of those 2, I go back 2, or 2 to the left. Sorry, so I went 4 to the right, 2 to the right. Then when I discard the 2, I go 2 to the left, and I'm just back at 4. I'm at 4. Okay, that's actually the same thing here, except I'm putting in a -2. Instead of taking away 2, I'm picking up or selecting a -2, which will have the same effect, because if you watch, +4 plus 2, so far I'm at 6, but then I pick up a -2, and again, that will take me back 2. Okay, so here's what the sentence is going to read. By the way, I ended up back at 4. Here's what our sentence is going to read down here. Removing, which is the same as discarding, Okay, so think like removing, taking away, discarding, that 2. Removing or discarding a positive card changes the score in the same way as selecting, we'll call that picking up when we talk about the integer game, picking up a card whose value is the opposite, like the negative of that. Okay, so that's the additive inverse. And I know you keep seeing that in your workbook. Please underline that and make sure you know that means opposite. Okay, so I know you've seen that a few places, so make sure you add that in there. Let's take a look at one other example of that to see if we can continue making sense of these, you know, positives and negatives, adding, selecting, discarding, giving away. Okay, what if I have a positive 4 and a negative 2? Okay, so 4 to the right, 2 to the left, I end up at positive 2. Okay, now what if I show taking away that 2? This will be very interesting. If I take away that 2, look at that, I just end up at 4. That's it. That's the same as picking up a positive 2. So 4 to the right and 2 to the left, and then go right back where we were, 2 to the right, also lands me at positive 4. So discarding this negative 2 right here is the same as selecting a positive 2, which is the opposite or the additive inverse. Okay, removing, which is discarding, getting rid of. So getting rid of a negative card changes the score in the same way as selecting a card whose value is the additive inverse. Okay, now with all this said and done, and all these examples to prove it, we now can come up with a rule for subtraction. So this is the part that I want you to be very careful of because we are going to use this in order to do our skill problems. So subtracting a number is the same as adding the opposite of that number. And we're going to do some examples so that you can see. So we're just going to do a couple skill. Here's what it was here. So let's say that I have 4, I'm just going to make one up, 4 minus 6, so subtracting a number, so subtracting 6, is the same as adding the opposite of that number. Okay, here's what it means. Adding the opposite of 6. The opposite of 6 is negative 6. So these are the same problems. Same problems. All I did was change it to addition and take the opposite of that number, the second number. Okay, so that's your rule. That's what we're going to go for. If we can change subtraction problems simply like that, then we will be able to add. Okay, now, I know that this is a long video, but we are going to now actually just practice a few problems. So on page 38, we've got 8 minus 2. Here we go. You know the answer to 8 minus 2, yes? It is 6. Okay, great. But this is only going to be for some of the problems where we have a big positive minus a smaller positive. I'm going to show you how to get 6 regardless of what kind of subtraction problem it is. We can write 8 plus negative 2 because I'm going to add the opposite. So we're going to hear that phrase a lot. Add the opposite if it's a subtraction problem. See, the good news is you know how to solve 8 plus negative 2 because here's 8. And then I plus negative 2. And I told you you would end up at 6. So I knew that you would get that one right. Okay, I'm going to help you rewrite BCD. Then you're going to pause it and solve it on this number line or your orange number line in your binder. Okay, here we go. For 4 minus 9, we want to add the opposite. So 4, I'm going to add whatever the opposite is of 9. The opposite of 9 is negative 9. Okay, you can solve that one. For C, I'm going to add the opposite of 7. So negative 3, and then add the opposite of 7. So negative 7. And now you can do negative 3 plus negative 7. Okay, for negative 9, we're going to add the opposite of negative 2. So change it to adding. Now this one is interesting because I have a minus negative 2, and I am changing it to be plus. What's the opposite of negative 2? It's actually positive 2. So I'm changing two things in all these problems. I'm changing to adding, and then I'm taking the opposite. If you're confused, that's okay. Right now, I want you to pause it. I want you to solve these and make sure that you can still do addition problems the way that we learned it before. Solve these on the number line, your number line, this number line on your workbook. Ready? Pause it and go. Okay, if you are watching me, then that means you already paused it because you know that that's the only way that you're going to learn is to try it. And how did you do? Did you get them all three right? If you didn't, do you know what you did wrong? Remember, positive goes to the right, negative goes to the left from where you left off. You do have to rewrite it though. Okay, for number 2, let's do the same thing. Let's rewrite the problems, then solve them. Why don't you pause it, rewrite them first. Rewrite all 3 problems, then unpause it and see how you did. Unpause it and see how you did. Okay, this one should be negative 2 plus positive 5. This one should be 11 plus positive 8 because I'm adding the opposites. And then the last one should be negative 10, add the opposite of negative 4. And the opposite of negative 4 is positive 4. How'd you do? Okay, fix whatever you needed. Now solve them now that they're addition problems. Use that number line if you have to still. Okay. All right, and how did you do here? Did you get 3, 19, and negative 6? Hopefully you did not do too bad. Okay, if you're done, you can be done. I'm actually going to show you how to do number 3 if you'd like to keep watching and figure out number 3. Number 3 says that an airplane flies at an altitude of 25,000 feet. That's a positive. It's up in the air 25,000 feet. And a submarine dives, that's a key word, 600 feet below sea level. So that's a minus. That's a negative term. They want to know what is the difference in their elevations. Elevation just means like how high you are. So here's my kind of diagram here. You're not allowed to make fun of my airplane drawing skills. Okay, here's the airplane, and it's at positive 25,000 feet. Okay, let's pretend that they're flying over, an ocean. That'll actually make this a lot easier. So this is 25,000 feet here. And then I know that the submarine is 600 feet. Boy, I have no idea how to draw a submarine. Okay, I'm done drawing this. I have no idea how to draw a submarine. Let's just pretend that's a submarine. Okay, that's at negative 600 feet below sea level, or 600 feet below sea level, which is represented as negative 600. I want to know the difference. The problem is when kids see difference, a lot of them do 25,000 minus 600, but that wouldn't tell me where the submarine was. That would actually place the submarine up here. And the submarine is not 600 feet above sea level. The submarine is not here. I want to know the elevation. All the way up 25,000 feet above the ocean, or, sea level. So that's 25,000 feet just to get to the water. So I know that they're more than 25,000 feet away from each other. It's basically another 600 feet to get there. So here's what the problem would look like. It would be 25,000 minus, because difference does mean minus, the elevation of the submarine, which is negative 600. Now, this is an application of what we just did. Now I know that I can solve this by adding the opposite. Okay? And there you go. You just add those two positive numbers together. They are 25,600 feet away from each other. That's kind of how I would think of it. That's how the distance between the plane and the submarine. Okay, that was your challenge question, and I will see you in class so we can do lesson 5, independent practice. See you later.